World Supersports round 10. The start so crucial, and a great start for Brock Parks, and also someone got a scorcher for the second row from the second row of the grid.
That looked...
It wasn't Fujiwara, but like Charpentier got swallowed up. He's back in third or fourth place. He hangs on to third place as they go through turn 2.
Number 11 Yamaha of Curtin in the lead.
And I should have thought that I should have realised that the man who got the cracking start on the second row was the 5-stone dripping wet Sebastian Charpentier. He's in fourth place on the Gill Motorsports Honda. Kevin Curtin leads, and at the moment I think we might have Brock Parks in second place, and amazingly we might have indeed a Yamaha Deutschland 1-2 on home ground. What a brilliant start for them, but not a good start for Fabian Forey, the race winner dramatically at Assen. He's been pushed right back into the pack. He's in 8th place behind Karadi and just ahead of Xavier Forres on the Alstara Corona Suzuki GSXR 600. At the front of the field, Kevin Curtin, 39-year-old from Sydney, his 49th World Supersports race, just 2 wins in that time, and usually he wins when it's wet, so he could have done with the rain having hung around, but thankfully for the rest of them it's cleared up. Mind you, Kevin's still at the front. And look at that, already a gap back to Sebastian Charpentier. The front 3 are making a break as Robin Harms tries to find a way past, and Fabian Forey a bit desperate to get past Katsuaki Fujiwara, who won here for Alstara Corona Suzuki in 2002 and holds the lap record.
Yeah, Fujiwara's definitely out of sorts last couple of rounds, really. He's capable of much better than this. And it's a time of year when you've really you're going to have to start putting some real results together if you're going to keep your job or get a better job for next year.
Well, what he's been saying, Katra has been saying, he was saying at the end of yesterday that we've managed to improve from 14th on Friday, but there's still some work to do. The bike was better after we changed some settings, but it's still not quite enough. And Ronald Carter's saying, excuse me, but we don't think it's the bike, we think it might actually be in your head. And that's number 21, Katsuaki Fujiwara, who, riding forward. Forey goes through on the inside of him.
Have some of that.
He certainly, that was a move that Nori Haga pulled in the first World Superbike race, and that was a neat one. But he's still back in 6th place, and that gap has opened up ahead of Robin Harms. He needs to get past those 2 guys quickly.
Yeah, if you don't make a good start, you really need to be like Forey. He's desperate to get with the leaders in the first couple of laps, because once it spreads out, you're finished. And he's trying.
He's trying hard, isn't he?
Next up, Mr. Chambon, I think.
He's trying to find a way past the obstructive little Frenchman. 2 Frenchmen together. Look at him. He's absolutely tailgating the Honda. Then he pulls out of the slipstream and dives into the long horseshoe right-hander at turn 9. And through that long right-hander, holds the line. He's through now into 5th place. Well done, Fabian. So now he's got to deal with Robin Harms. Robin will probably pull a huge wheelie on him, stand-up wheelie on him, just to surprise him.
No, he says that for the warm-up lap. Obviously likes warming the rear tyre a lot more than he likes warming the front tyre.
Certainly kicked up some smoke from the front tyre when it landed.
Yeah, it slows down, and when it lands, it just it grips again. And
interesting to see here how much motivation the recently crowned new world champion will have, James, and want to really mix it with the Yamahas. Number 16, Charpentier.
I think if it got dangerous, he might be ducking out, but I think at this stage it might be easier than it has been, because no pressure on, and it's just easy to ride around and have some fun with no pressure for the championship.
Interesting that Troy Corser has said this weekend that he's more comfortable. He likes this track, and he feels safer here in pursuit of the championship than he did at Assen. He feels that Assen's a fairly sketchy place. And already we're getting a ride through for number 100, Topi Harala from Toijala in Finland on the Ajo Motorsport CBR 600.
Well, ride through's done him good, because it's the only way he would have ever got on television.
Oh, Fabrizio tries to get underneath Katsuaki Fujiwara at the end of the main straight, but can't quite make it happen. Fujiwara, of course, vastly experienced in MotoGP, World Superbikes and World Supersports, the 30-year-old Japanese rider. This is 53rd World Supersports race. But he's dropping back downfield. Well, at the moment, he's struggling to get inside. And he does. Not quite. Yes.
No.
Not quite. He thought he had little Frenchman Stefan Chambon then, but it didn't quite work. The gap has opened up in front of Robin Harms and the Stiggy Motorsports Dark Dog Honda. Look at that style, that good old-fashioned style of the 39-year-old Kevin Curtin, number 11.
Yeah, nobody's obviously nobody's told him he should really be slowing down and and doing different things on a Sunday, safer things on a Sunday than this.
Yeah, because he's actually the same age as you, James. Happy birthday! You recently turned
Tuesday,
39.
39 Tuesday. Yeah.
You were 39 on Tuesday, the day before Norwich Arbe turned 30. Well, there you are. And here comes, with a goal for Fabrizio. This time does nudge his way under Katz. And the ever-smiling Katsuaki Fujiwara may not be smiling underneath that visor. Right now, he certainly is now, because he's down. Oh, Fujiwara,
That's Charpentier.
Oh, it's Charpentier, I'm sorry. Do you know,
Are you not watching?
I'm sorry. No, I do beg your pardon. Charpentier said that front wheel let go on him without any warning at all when he had his accident in qualifying yesterday.
That certainly did let go without any warning. I reckon he was carrying a bit of brake in there.
Well, he was. That proves the point that he was up for a bit of a do with the Yamahas.
For sure, yeah.
But now it's down to Kevin Curtin versus Brock Park, two Aussies at extreme ends of their career. The 39-year-old Kevin Curtin leads the 23-year-old, number 23, Brock Parks. Well, Parks 44 times an Australian dirt track champion in his youth. He was always the kid who was beating up Chris Vermeulen. Vermeulen never won a title, and this kid won all of them. And Sebastian Charpentier wants to start again.
I don't know why he's pushing it, because these bikes have starters on.
Oh, well, perhaps he's not wanting to start again. Fabien Fauré has got through into what is now third place. Now, it'll be interesting to see whether he, because he's really come onto some form recently, can get that mega bike Honda anywhere near the Yamahas.
He's got a lot to do. And this is already a good day for Yamaha, and a German-run Yamaha team at that. And this is about as near the crowd today is going to get to a German win. A German-run bike.
Of course, this was the same team that used to run your extremely successful German buddies and rivals, Jorgi Teuchert and Christian Kellner.
Yeah, it's a good team. It's a well-run team, technically very good, a very organised team, as you would expect from a German team.
And I tell you what I like about them, they have really great rock music echoing out of that garage on Saturday nights when you stroll up pit lane. It is great to hear. They you know how Germans tend to be a bit embedded in traditional rock, heavy rock stuff. It's really excellent, and they have it at fairly kind of bursting capacity as well. Paweł Szkolpek of Poland. Oh, he's only had to cross the border and come about 30 miles across the border. Oh dear!
What did he do there? We shouldn't be laughing, because I bet that hurt.
Well, no, it was I'm laughing at the fact that you were laughing at the poor lad.
What did he do?
He's high-sided into turn one. He seemed to lose the front first.
No, rear first, and that just chucked him over the front. I don't know what. I don't know how it does. Hey, fair play to him. Originality marks. That's a 5.9 there.
You know, you were
talking. Oh, Curtin looking down. He's looking down.
No, he was looking back. He was looking underneath his armpit to see where Brock Parks was, and the answer is Brock's filling his rear view mirror there. And the man who's trying to get on terms with him, Fabien Fauré, isn't really going quick enough at the moment. Fujiwara tries to get underneath former Alstara Corona Suzuki star Stefan Chambon and succeeds. And at the moment, Curtin leads after 4 laps out of 19. In fact, coming up to complete 5 laps out of 19. Kevin Curtin leads ahead of Brock Parks, Fabien Fauré. Number 12, Xavier Forres, there on the Alstara Corona Suzuki. Just ahead of Werner Damon, number 71 on the Van Zon Honda, and Johan Stigfeldt on the second of the Stiggy Racing Hondas. Lots of scrapping going on right downfield. Look at Stiggy coming through on the inside of Werner Damon, while Damon tries to get inside young Forres and does. The 19-year-old Spaniard slithers wide, and Werner Damon, vastly experienced, stocky, cheerful little man he is. He reminds me very much of Colin Harrison's son David. He's got that same blonde, spiky-haired, permanent smile, pop-eyed look about him. Really enjoys his racing, and he certainly enjoyed pulling that move in his role as part-time player manager here of the Van Zon team. 84 there is Fabrizio, 21 is Fujiwara, number 8 is the former champion back in 1999, Stefan Chambon, one of 4 riders who arrived at Brands Hatch with a chance of becoming champion at the end of the year 2000. Xavier Forres doesn't look to be enjoying himself too much around here. He's being attacked on all sides. And of course, Alstara Corona Suzuki were the winners the last time World Supersport came here in 2002 in the hands of Katsuaki Fujiwara. But right now, a Yamaha 1-2. Kevin Curtin, Brock Parks are the men at the front and in control. Welcome back to the red hot Supersport action here at the Lausitzring Ring. Number 21, the winner back in 2002 for Alstara Corona Suzuki. Katsuaki Fujiwara riding for his job next year, really. He's right behind the Megabike Honda of the young Italian Michel Fabrizio, while up front Kevin Curtin and Brock Parks are setting lap times that Fabian Forin and their pursuers can't really match, and Fabian currently 5.8 seconds down after 5 laps of the action here. And there's Werner Damon really right in the mix there with Stigfeldt and Tatsu Lausleto, the young Finn, bike number 25, who rides for the Claffey Honda team, the same team, of course, as it features Frankie Killy and Max Neukirchner. Interesting comparison in styles, James. The slightly older-fashioned Christian Kellner way of riding that you've got there with Kevin Curtin, and then a style that's a little reminiscent of yourself and York Toyhurt from number 23, the former dirt track champion in his amateur youth days there, Brock Parks. Yeah, Brock Parks tends to sort of hang his head and his upper body off the bike a lot more into the corner. You see there. He's very Toyhurt, actually, that style, now you mention it. But it's just whatever comes naturally. I mean, I don't think there's any right or wrong with the style. If you after a race, you shouldn't really be thinking where your body was, because if you are, you're taking your concentration to other things. It should be a natural thing, and you shouldn't really be thinking what you're doing with your body. When you first start racing, all you want to do is stick your knee out and look impressive. But once you start getting good at it, your style shouldn't come into it. It's interesting that he and Chris Vermeulen were great rivals during their youth on dirt tracks, and they've emerged with such very different riding styles in the end on tarmac. Yeah, and the strange thing is that Brock Parks was always had the upper hand on the dirt tracks in Australia, won many more championships than Vermeulen, but when it comes to road racing, Vermeulen is would seem to be the daddy, as it were. He's still very highly regarded by his kind of mentor, the former World 500cc Motorcycle Grand Prix champion Wayne Gardner. But does his style particularly resemble the way that Wayne rode, or was Wayne quite different from that? Difficult to tell, really. Different bikes, and sometimes different bikes demand different styles, and you can't get a lot more different than a 600 road-based bike compared to a 500cc two-stroke. As a guy who won World Supersports races, what would you say is the secret to getting the best out of these machines? The secret of these machines is they haven't got as much power as a superbike, so you've got to carry as much speed through the corner and onto the straight as you can, because you don't get your speed back if you do make a mistake. And the other thing is, at some point in the weekend, you've got to stop trying to set the bike up perfectly and get on the thing and ride it. And you've got to ride round. You've got to be able to ride round problems, because these bikes are a lot more basic on the chassis. You have to run standard swing arms, standard head angle, standard swing arm pivot position, standard fork external, standard brakes, standard wheels. And because of that, you're never ever going to get them as perfect as what you could get a MotoGP bike or a superbike. So consequently, at some point, you've got to think, right, I'm not going to get it much better, I better get on and ride it now. And Katsuaki Fujiwara finally seems to be taking notice of you on that score, because after frustrating his team manager Ronald Ten Carter all weekend, he's finally moved up a place there into 5th place. Meanwhile, very impressive, this Danish rider. I was just going to say, he's not having any of the fact that Foray caught and passed him, and he's having a go back, and it does look like he's got a quick bike though, and he just whistles past the Megabike Honda. But here comes Foray back underneath him. We know that Foray is an absolute stonker at braking, and he just outbrakes him at the end of the straight. But certainly Robin Harm's not afraid to show his front wheel and say, I'm here and I want to get past you. In fact, I'm looking for my first ever World Supersports podium. Yep. Robin Harms, 24-year-old from Copenhagen. Only came into oops, and we've lost that number 42 of Mathieu Legrive, the 25-year-old Frenchman on the Moto 1 Suzuki. He's got a nice riding style, Robin Harms. Yeah, he has, actually.
He's trying some out.
Oh, he's gone round him.
It's gonna work.
Oh, how outrageous is that? Robin Harms right round the outside as if on tram lines, and Foray must have been shaken up then, but he's just going to dig right back up the inside and say, sorry, sunshine, you can't do that.
Yeah, it was a block pass as well by Foray. Just parked it in the middle of the corner. And
This is
Harms just is able to keep so much.
Oh, no, don't go back to the leaders. We want to stay with this one. What an entertaining contest for third place here. Look at the eyes. Now, I do love the fact that when we've got dark conditions like this, the visors lighten up and you can almost see. I tell you what, they're unsettling eyes, those eyes of Kevin Curtin's. You know how
he's got an unsettling face. He's got a scary old face.
He has, but it's added to by the fact that, you know, I don't know what it is that causes it, but when you've got slightly bled pupils that aren't circles, they look like drops.
Yeah.
Kevin's got that in both his eyes, and it makes him look I think that does add to the scariness.
Intimidating look about him.
He does. Not a man that you think you'd argue with. And he's leading this race, and he's extending his advantage now over Brock Parks. His lap of 44 on that lap, 0.8 against Brock of 45.7 meant that he went across the line with a 2.19 second advantage. 10 laps complete out of 23. Kevin Curtin is in the lead. Oh.
And that's Foray packing in, I think.
Foray not looking very pleased. Is he berating his pit?
I'm not sure whether he's. I'm not sure whether it's wet.
I think there's a bit of. Is there a bit of?
It's damping
it suddenly looks
These guys
horrendous.
have definitely slowed off.
It doesn't look very nice over the far side of the track, and in the central area of this enormous natural bowl.
Yeah, the corner speed there's just so slow. There's obviously water down. Obviously.
And Kevin Curtin taking a glance over his shoulder. Presumably he's the man who could actually kind of say, can we stop this now, please?
Yeah, the thing is, though, it's not got enough distance to call it a race.
And is it 2/3 distance we have to do? Because at the moment we've only done 10 out of 23. So there's
2/3 difference.
There is an unlucky 13 to go. Perhaps Kevin's going to be better off just taking it steady. And
well, he is taking it steady. I mean,
well, and also something I mentioned before. He's always his wins have come when it's been really wet. He doesn't mind damp conditions.
I mean,
but I think he's stopping it.
He is. He's.
Brock's just said, "No thanks, chum. I'm carrying on." No, he hasn't.
They've stopped now. And that's what I think. That's what Foray's.
Foray was obviously saying, "Come on, guys."
Yeah. Which was why Robin Harms was able to ride round the outside of Foray, because he. Oh dear.
Foray's spat the dummy.
Not happy.
For such a lovely lad, when he does spit the dummy, he spits it big time.
I tell you what, when he throws a teddy, it's a big one.
Ashes test, but we have been curtailed. Curtin has been curtailed, in fact, and he's had to put up his hand with a 2.193 second advantage over teammate Brock Parks. Robin Harms in third place ahead of a disgruntled Fabian Foray.
Yeah, I'll say he was.
A rider that doesn't get psyched up, and a rider that doesn't psych himself out, you know, before the start of the race. Because right now it's just so nerve-wracking, you know, having to wait, having already half the race, and then just having to wait for so long. It's just your body's just, I want to race, I want to finish, you know.
Yeah, I would imagine it's kind of agonising, this moment, really. Once the red light goes out and you're away, you probably feel a billion times better. But this point, I would imagine it feels like broken glass is coursing through your veins. You know?
Yeah, you know, you got the camera on you, and you see Stigif out there. He's.
But we have an empty space where Robin Harms should be. Hope he hasn't been pulling any more stand-up Troy Corsa wheelies. No, here he comes. The Dane lines up in third place. And of course this is going to be on aggregate, ladies and gentlemen. The 10-lap first part behind us, the 13-lap second part to come. Lights out, and both the Yamahas get a good start. Brock Parks might have just cut across into the lead, but Foray got a poor one, and he's really got sucked right back into the pack as Brock gets there first. Brock Parks then does the first bit right. He gets himself into the lead, but poor Fabian Foray has once again got a terrible start and is desperately trying to fight his way, which he does past number 8, Stefan Chambon.
Not as bad as before, and he will be keen to get the better of Robin Harms after being really annoyed and, well, upset. He looked upset, did Foray after the... which track we're on today?
It's Lorenzo Lanzi's obviously had an effect on these boys as well. They reckon, oh, let's make use of a bit of the banking here. Number 13, Alessio Carradi in that hastily rebit Selmat Ducati. Their bike number 13 just ahead of Laus Leto. Stiegfeld is 10th. Werner Damon has made a robust and cheerful start. And Told is there in the points once again. At the front though, Brock Parks. Now he'd have to somehow stretch out a 2-second plus advantage over his teammate if he were to stand a chance of winning this race on aggregate. But let's just see how they go on here.
2.193 he'd have to pull out.
So if he pulled out 2.194, he'd have it.
Yes.
He'd have the verdict. Oops, Laus Leto doing a bit of over breakout, breaking himself, and so too did Johan Stiegfeld. But Robin Harms looking good again in 3rd place. 4th for Michel Fabrizio. 5th Katsuaki Fujiwara. 6th place Fabien Fore. Now what can Brock do? Can he work out some way of defeating his Australian compatriot? Well, he certainly had the speed down the straight and he was late enough on the brakes to hold on to the lead there. Fabien Fore, of course, hasn't got as long to work with here. He's only got the 13 laps in which to do something about. Well, 12 laps now. Around this sequence of curves through the final 45-mile-an-hour left-hander at turn 5, climbing up onto the back straight.
Yeah, you've got 2 sections of the track here that are really physical. One, there's turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 onto the back straight, and then the other twisty section is all the way back to start and finish, where it's nothing but just one side to another, to another, to another. This is really physical riding for the circuit. It's really hard work physically.
In the lead at the moment, the guy who was originally born in Hunter Valley, New South Wales, back in December. In fact, would you believe, on Christmas Eve in 1981, Brock Parks in the lead. He lives now in Bologna in Italy, which is a far better way to be able to get yourself a few continental rides. And here he is riding for Yamaha Deutschland, trying to keep Kevin Curtin behind him. Curtin comes up on the inside, but not quite able to show his front wheels sufficiently to get by. And the front 6 are beginning to break away from the rest at the moment. But the dice at the front, very much involving these 2 Yamahas. But the Honda, surprisingly, the yellow Honda of Stiggy Motorsports Dane Robin Harms is the nearest threat to them. And Fujiwara through into 4th place. So has Fujiwara finally got his smiling head together and he's going to make a charge?
Yeah, I don't know what changes he's made. I think he must have figured that he was struggling that much in the first part. He must have made some changes, because he looks a lot more on it than what he did in the first.
He's always had an impressive riding style. He looks very big on these bikes, and he's not such a big lad just to sort of meet and talk to, is he?
No, he's not, but these bikes are small. They're not big bikes. Certainly Curtin, and although Brock Parks is a stocky, strongish lad, he certainly isn't very tall. Now, these bikes are quite small.
He's 170 centimetres, but I don't know how that translates into real English. But he is short and stocky.
Yep.
So Katsuaki Fujiwara now trying to put some pressure on as the lone survivor of the Win-Win Tenkate team. And that was a good move that he pulled to get past Michel Fabrizio. Absolutely side by side. Fabrizio just lost his nerve at the last moment, James.
He did. Unusual, because he had the inside line. You would have thought he'd be able to force Fujiwara out again.
He's certainly going to get blocked past now for his pains, because here comes Fore, and that's a typical Fabien Fore pass. Round the long curving right-hander. And this time, Kevin Curtin this time may have made the move he needs to. Oh, Brock says, I'm sorry. Leading with shoulder and head. I'm going to have that one. Oh, great. These 2 really going at one another. Brock wants to hang on at the front. If he could force Kevin into a mistake, he could get this.
I think that's the only way that he's ever going to pull over 2 seconds from Kevin Curtin.
Or if someone else could get the better of Kevin Curtin. If he can keep Curtin behind him and Fujiwara were to make a bit of progress, who knows what could happen. Look at the speed of that bike of Brock Parks, 252 k's per hour. The fastest bike on track at that point. Fujiwara is now attacking Robin Harms, and the man who really wants to be getting up there with the Dane is, of course, number 99, Fabien Fore.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a score to settle there, I think.
We've now reversed the nature of this race in that 10 laps have been complete, and 13 laps have been complete, and 10 laps remain. Parks versus Curtin. Kevin Curtin, who got an amazing grandstand view of James Whittam's massive crash at Brands Hatch in 2002, because he was right behind James as Whittam, well, took off, shall we say, coming out of Clearways onto what is laughingly called the Brabham Straight. We've got some real straights here, but it still hasn't helped Kevin Curtin manage to outbrake the leader, Brock Parks. When you see the rear view of these guys keeled over, James, there's nothing wrong with the way that this Pirelli rubber sticks. Here comes Kevin Curtin once again. Has he made it this time? No! Brock Parks has a particular line, and he sticks to that line going through there. And he's starting to slide the rear of the Yamaha.
Yeah, when Curtin goes up the inside there, if you don't get cleanly past, it's quite dangerous because the outside rider leans on you, and if you just touch the back end, you can the rear rider or both can end up on the backside really easily.
Well, this has been declared a wet race, but there's absolutely nothing wet about it. The skies have lightened, the track is dry, and these guys can enjoy scorching round as fast as they want, which in the case of the front runners is 1:42.7s are the times that are being set right now. Harm's still there. Look at Fabien Foret. He's now beginning to make a move. Fabien Foret set his fastest time on the last lap, 1:42.872. His fastest time of the race, just a tenth of a second off the leaders. So that's closed him down significantly. Oh, and Fujiwara going deep into turn one, too deep into turn one, and that's what allowed Foret to close the gap. So Curtin leads it. Brock Parks, there's the gap, 2.066 seconds at the moment on aggregate, don't forget. So the order on aggregate, Curtin, Parks, Harms, Foret, Fujiwara, Fabrizio in 6th place, 7th Chambon, 8th Corradi, 9th Lausleto, 10th for Jorn Stigfeldt. What's the kind of James? What's the kind of rev range in which you have to operate with these bikes, these 600s?
You're looking at now that these bikes are revving to getting on for 17,000 RPM. They're really, really rare. They've got smaller pistons, less reciprocating mass is the technical term. It means the pistons and rods and everything weighs less, so they're able to stop and start quicker. If you know what I mean. When it gets to the top of the cylinder, it has to stop and then start going the other way. Because the pistons are smaller and lighter than the bigger bikes, the revs are higher. So about 17,000 RPM and maybe just a bit less, 16 odd. And they're pulling strong from 7,000, 6,000 RPM. So these are good, usable bikes now.
And Kevin Curtin, while you were talking then, has just made perfectly good use of his and thrust himself to the front with a neat overtaking manoeuvre at the end of the start and finish straight. Is there anything that Brock Parks can do to retaliate? Meantime, the battle on for third place. Robin Harms, Katsuaki Fujiwara and Fabien Foret are all now nailed together. Fabien Foret, the ferret, ferreting his way back into contention. One of the gang, of course, that lives in Andorra when he's not back home at Angoulême in France. 32 years old now, Fabien Foret, former world champion. He really wanted to get into superbikes, but it never worked for him, did it?
No, that kind of sneaked up on us, really, because he's always seemed fairly young, but then when you think he has been around a long time now, and he goes up the inside of Fujiwara, and that's going to stick. That's a typical Foret pass. Almost a block.
I think he might have just overcooked it. No, he's going to go back. No, he's not.
Oh, he did overcook it.
Now, with Fabien, he kind of, you know his intentions for a long way off. Yep. He just aims for an impossible line directly towards the apex.
Stops it up the inside of you, stops the bike, turns it. He's technically known in the trade as parking it. And goes up the inside, parks it, and then holds you up, basically.
It must be deeply irritating to the man he's just parked in front of.
Really frustrating. It is very frustrating when you're racing against. Pirovano was exactly the same. Quick, but he'd always pass you and hold you up. And so, consequently, the people in front can always get away when you're in a battle with somebody like that.
Well, Foray now now that he's made the pass a second time and seems to have made it stick, he's got Robin Harms in front of him, and he's got to try and find a way of cutting back what is in fact a 1.8 second advantage that Harms has over him right now on aggregate times. So this is going to be an intriguing battle now. The tactical battle will now ensue.
And it's not 1.8 seconds now. It's a lot less than that already.
So Fabian Foray right on, closing down onto the back wheel of Robin Harms, and wanting to follow up his race victory at Assen last weekend with, I was going to say with a podium here. There's nothing wrong with the speed of the that Team Stiggy Dark Dog Honda. It really takes off out of the long turns.
We saw in the first race that it was every bit as quick as Foray's bike, albeit I think in the first race when it came damp, I think Harms was a little bit braver, shall we say, out the corners.
And he's
That's
light.
his titanium toe sliders just decking out there. That is so off-putting when you see that happen with the rider in front of you.
That was a speciality of, was it Troy Bayliss?
Yeah,
Used to have
Bayliss.
the run the titanium one.
Bayliss used to scrape his toes everywhere, yeah.
We might see him back sparking his way around World Superbikes next year.
I hope so. I just like watching him ride this.
11 Curtin leads, second 23 Parks, third 127 Harms, fourth 99 Foray, and fifth Fujiwara. That's the order on the road, and that is in fact the order on aggregate, although the gap now has dropped, as James intimated, to 1.6 seconds on aggregate between Harms and Foray. So really what Fabian's got to do is get past Robin Harms and pull about a second on him.
That's right.
Is he capable of it? Can he do it? Former star of World Endurance Championship racing as well as Supersports. A winner at the Spa-Francorchamps in 2000, a winner at the Ball d'Or in 2000, and third in the World Supersports Championship round at Oschersleben that season.
Yeah, most of the French riders have had a go at some point in their careers of doing endurance, world endurance. It's quite important still for the French people.
Fabrizio falling back towards the battle between Stefan Chambon and number 8 and number 13, Alessio Corradi. Corradi looks good on that Selmat Ducati. Looks very comfortable. Oh, here comes the block pass. Oh, dear me. No, it is scary, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Just aim for the apex and stop it.
Dear me. So Robin Harms must know now what the intention is. He's obviously experienced it in the first race too, although that was him coming from behind. This is the first time that Foray's had the chance to attack him in return. There must be something. I was just thinking about the fact that Katz is just driven in the same way that Brock Parks has lost contact slightly with the leader. Katsuaki Fujiwara losing contact with these two. It must surely be a hard thing to deal with mentally when you see someone just inching away from you, and there's nothing. Oh, and here comes that brutal pass by Fabian Foray, and there's nothing that number 127 Robin Harms can do about it right then. Now, can the Dark Dog Honda do anything about that? Kevin Curtin looks behind him. He's got now a cushion of 3.3 seconds on aggregate time, but the battle is on for third place. Harms trying to get back on Fabian Foray, but Foray now has to try and pull a second clear of the Dane.
And having seen him how he stuck onto the back of Foray in the first race, I think he'll struggle. But saying that, he looks to have pulled a little bit already.
James, I was asking you, how do you mentally deal with the fact that someone, without really kind of overcooking it yourself in desperation?
You're exactly right. What you've got to do is, you've got to realise if you can stay with him. If somebody passes you, sometimes it's amazing how much you can raise your game and stick with them. But it's a real fine balancing act between upping your game to stay with them and not trying to push hard in the places where you're not that good. That's what you tend to do. You tend to, if somebody else is better on a certain part of the track, you tend to push harder than you can with them, doing what they can, and it's so easy to overcook it. Sometimes it's the more difficult thing to say, right, he's going quicker, he's obviously got a better setup, quicker bike, whatever, and I've just got to go as quick as I can on this bike. It's a lot easier to drop into that, right, if that's what you want, I'm having a go with you. And then, make a big mistake.
What did you tend to do?
Have a go.
Why did I suspect that?
With a lot of riders, it's subconscious. You just think, right.
And there's Robin Harms having a go, and he got
I'll
a
tell you what
snake
happened
on.
there. He went up the inside and wasn't sure he could make it, and had to just, sit it up behind.
Now that's crucial, because the difference between them as they crossed the line was exactly 1 second. And I think that a second might just considerably be the gap now. Because at that moment, Robin Harms nearly clipped Foray's back.
That's what he was afraid of, and that's why he went wide.
So now, if that gap between Fabian Foray and Robin Harms has opened up to a second, and it certainly must be close to it, that would give Foray a smidgen of an advantage on aggregate.
I think he's about a second now.
But look, you've got to hand it to the day. He's just getting his head down, and he's pulling away from Fujiwara. He's going to have another go.
He's got a real hang-off style as well, little fella, but he doesn't have to get off the bike.
Great racing here. Robin Harms then. He wants that first podium in his World Supersports debut year. Can he get it? Kevin Curtin leads. Second place, Brock Parks. Third place, look at Fabian Foray challenging. Fourth place, can Robin Harms hang on? Has he still hung on to third place in the race on aggregate? It's going to be awfully tight by the time they weave their way through these final sections, the final weaving sections to turns 11, 12, 13 and 14. Here we go. The last left-hander. This is going to be on a knife edge as they go past us now. Curtin leads. He's got a handsome aggregate victory in sight. Second place for Brock Parks. The gap 3.455, and Robin Harms is still there. He's there by 0.3 of a second. Robin Harms 0.3 of a second in front on aggregate of that man on the red megabike Honda, Fabian Foray.
Yeah, what Foray needs to do is get past Parks now. Easier said than done.
It is. Parks, of course, is comfy. He's got a 10-second advantage on aggregate over Robin Harms in third place. But I'm sure he'd rather hang on to second place on the roads. 3 laps to go then. And Fabian Foray is beginning to look determined. That's what he's... and someone's gone down!
That's Parks.
No, it's not Parks. It might be Harms. Is it Harms?
Harms. It is Harms.
Oh, Robin Harms. He was pushing hard. He was so keen on trying to get that first ever World Supersports podium. And it's finally gone down on him. Robbie Harms. He's restarted well. And there he goes. He just lost the front.
Yeah.
Well, it looked as if the thing started up again. It's gone down in nice, forgiving, damp grass, James.
Yep.
As Fabian Foray nicks second place on the road from Brock Parks. The Parker doesn't need to worry about that. He just wants to stay there and ensure that he gets... Oh, look at the two of them sliding in absolute unison. The fantastic shrieking 600 four-cylinder 600s rather howl round the last bend here and on to the finishing straight. 2 laps to go. Fabian Foray chasing number 23 ahead of 23 Brock Parks, chasing number 11 Kevin Curtin, and I don't know whether Fabian will be aware that his immediate rival has actually disappeared, and he's got that third place now in the bag. Really, he's got it by 5 seconds on aggregate from Katsuaki Fujiwara.
Yeah, Brock Parks no need to push at this point. He's just got to finish where he is, and unless he thinks he can in 2 laps pass Foray and catch his teammate, which is just no way he's going to do, he can just sit where he is.
And there's proof on screen for you of what the timing differences are at the moment. And Robin Harms hasn't gone past us yet. Xavier Forres has. Forres has gone past her, 50 seconds behind on aggregate. And I beg your pardon, Robin Harms goes past, and in fact, he's ahead of Forres on aggregate in 13th place overall, and he's just 2.2 seconds behind Anderson, number 49 on the Kawasaki.
He's probably going to make 12th at that rate. He's got 2 laps to pull, 2 seconds back.
I suppose it depends how he's feeling and how greasy his bike is.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's always hard after a fall to get going straight away and go good times. You don't know what's hanging off the bike, what's bent, what's got... your tyres are dirty, sometimes ends of the lever snapped off. So it's difficult to jump on and go out as you have before.
I think Fabien Foret wants to win this race on the road. Look at the way he's going. He's hacking into Kevin Curtin's advantage here. He can't possibly improve on third place in the race over the Yamahas, but he'd certainly like to come across and receive the checkered flag first. Kevin Curtin then storms into his last lap with a 3.169 second advantage over Brock Parks and a 12.7 second advantage over Fabien Foret on aggregate.
Interestingly, the Yamaha, when you look at the speeds on the start and finish, is 10 kilometres quicker than the two bikes behind, the Honda and the other Yamaha behind. The actual Curtin's bike is 10 k's up, which is a lot.
Perhaps they've been hoarding some special engines for this round.
I think perhaps the speed trap is maybe on the braking point, so it's fairly ambiguous as to whether it's a true reflection. Sometimes that can happen.
Kevin Curtin now is coming under some real pressure from the master of the parking up manoeuvre. Can Fabien Foret pull it for the final time today as they come across the crest of the rise? And you'll notice Fabien, if he thinks he's close enough, he'll just make a beeline for the apex. Here he goes.
There he goes. And
fantastic.
I mean, there's no way he's going to get anything from it except have the honour of going over the line first. I mean, he ain't going to move up a place, and he's trying hard to be the first one to finish. It's weird how they're going that hard just to be the first one to take the checkered flag when it won't make any difference.
Yeah, but you know, perhaps you would think about, you might be doing the same if you were thinking, oh, I could just get at least take the checkered flag in front in this race.
Yeah, a bit of pride at stake, I guess.
Fabien, especially as he experienced it finally at Assen last weekend, so that
he's going to do it.
Fabien Foret comes round the final corner. He is going to take an apparent win on the roads, but the two Yamaha Deutschland Australian stars, number 11 Kevin Curtin, number 23 Brock Parks, will take first and second places overall in the race. The German round of World Superbike sees a German team post a 1-2 in World Supersports.
Now the Marshall's flag waving demonstration just underway there.
It looks as if they've learned that on a parade ground somewhere, doesn't it?
I don't know. Next, bell ringing.
And they're waving all colours. Look at that, the multicoloured. Oh, and the multicoloured trackside. Kevin Curtin takes an aggregate overall win in round 10 of World Supersports then for Yamaha, ahead of Brock Parks, Fabien Foret, Fujiwara, Fabrizio Chambon. Look at all those Hondas. Alessio Carradi gets that 7th place ahead of Johan Stiegfeld, who in the end is the leading member of his team, but I'm sure he'd rather have seen Robbie Harms get Stiggy Racing's first ever World Supersports podium. Lars Lato, Team Claffey, 9th. Werner Damon gets the top 10. Well done, welcome back, Werner. Toad of Toad Hall is 11th, 12th for Anderson, 13th for Robin Harms. Unlucky there for him.